Peace and power, peace and power. I thank the universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Peace and power to the people of the struggle. What's good? What's going on? As you come on in, know that this is a safe space. Know that this is a space for building, for learning, for getting learned up, for educating and being educated, for questions and answers. Know this is a space of truth. This is a space of love. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Truth, lady. Truth. Truth. Bullets. What up? Salute. Know that this is a space where we dialogue, where we question, where we seek solutions on the path to true liberation. Yes, true liberation. As you come through, classroom assistants, please make sure that the funding info is in the chat for the duration of the class. Fund the war effort. Fund the war effort. Do we understand? It is a war going on outside. No man is safe from. If you or anybody you know is in dire need of anger management or believe that you are in need of anger management, book your assessment. If you're already part of my fam, get your sessions in. Don't get caught slipping. Don't let me see you on the news, hemped up, crying, talking about I won't do it no more, claiming you an influencer, jacked up. All right? If you or somebody you know is in need of domestic violence intervention, whether it's you, your child, your niece, your nephew, your uncle, your grandma, please book an assessment. Learn what the signs are. Okay? And if it is an emergency, dial 911. The life you save may be your own. Yes, indeed. I'm going to put this out right now. This is, excuse me, this is an all hip-hop class. Yes. So it may be a little testosterone-filled, Queen comrades. You know. But I'm sure y'all been around that energy before. Let us see. Who's in class? No limit. Mark Lewis. Sonny, you get a 55. Merc Low, salute. Truth lady. Bullets, what up? What? Stein Stizzle. Darrell Javon. In here. Safe. Off of them roads because it's nasty out there. Don't talk me to death. Michael Mullins, you get a 55. Jason Reels, what up, twin? Van Rutledge. ATM Tim, you get a 55. Be original, you get a 55. Right there in Jersey, get your 55. Brooklyn Jewels. See, Bliz, keep that funding info in the chat. Who else in here? John S. Campbell, you get a 55. Boy, a lot of 55s up in the spot. Rashida, you don't love me no more. Murder Gang, Uptown Dre, you get a 55. Boy, it's a lot of 55s. Viva Africa, Viva, 55. 55, y'all part of 55 gang. Let me get my merch up. 55 gang, y'all all failing. 55, 55, 55s. All the way around the board. Let's get to it. A lot of discussion about special ed. Special ed. Now, wasn't going to touch it because I know the honest work. Appreciate you too, Mark. I know the honest work that special ed is doing and is attempting to do in the public school systems and the charter school systems as far as education and hip hop is concerned. One of the day one homies made an attempt to plug us together. So if by chance special ed hears this, reach out. You have a direct plug to District 19 in Brooklyn should you want to present a program for the school. Well, the majority of the schools out there, we got a direct plug to get your program at least heard by somebody, by a couple of principals who are very, very much hip hop because they were raised in it. We have actual principals who were born and raised in the projects, born, raised in East New York, and now are principals running schools in the district. So don't be taken aback by the language because I'm about to give it to you. Trust and believe. I'm going to give it to you because I don't know if you were capping special ed, Eddie Archer. I don't know if you was capping or if you sincerely believe that. Okay? Or if you sincerely believed it. But I'm going to give it to you. All right? And it's all out of love. We in this class, we push for truth. We in this class question and answer everything. We in this class give it to anybody. Right, y'all? When they call us, we come. We leave them alone. But when they call us and they start speaking history, hip hop, and what? The destruction, the beginnings of the destruction? No. We're not jacking that. Not at all. So let's get thorough the way, the way we get thorough in this class here. Let's start with what he said. NWA, straight out of Compton. That was the destruction, the beginning of the destruction. I took issue with that. And I can only take issue with that because in a few weeks, I'll be 55. So I've been here for the energy that created hip hop, for the energy that loved hip hop, for the energy that pushed it into the universe. I'm old enough, I've been there. So, let's start with the date. NWA released straight out of Compton, August 8th. 1988. August 8th. Now, I was already in the army. Overseas. We're talking about the 8th month of the year. By the time I went in the Army, I done survived the crack epidemic. Dudes were getting murdered on a regular basis. On a regular basis. One of the reasons I made the decision to leave was because everybody around me was unfortunately going to jail or getting murdered. I said, yo, listen, I'm out. I'm out. Because if I'm going to be in these streets, I need to be armed. At that time, arms weren't easy to get unless you was in one of the crews who happened to be in the drug trade, who happened to be going out of town, who happened to be, in neighborhoods where the narcotic sales, exchange, dudes was getting money on that end, buying guns and stuff like that. Okay? I wasn't part of none of that. The old timers that I came up around, the older guards that I came up around, said drugs and narcotics was taboo. Never. Don't use it, don't sell it, it's trash. So that was never how I was in the streets. Okay? But we were struggling with death, all types of crime, and prison. Since 85, when it hit and exploded. Where was hip hop in 1985? Where was hip hop in 1985? What was we listening to? We still on the Fat Boys, right? We were still on the Fat Boys. Matter of fact, let's go 1 year further. 1986, where I always tell you, 1986 to 1989 was the renaissance of hip hop. When styles were changing, when flows were changing, when presentation of the art form was changing, just in the music. Because that's the only point that he could be speaking from, the music. He said NWA, straight out of Compton. We know there was no graffiti, right? That we know was no bombing and all that associated with straight out of Compton. We know that for a fact. We know straight out of Compton, there was no breakdancing in it. We know straight out of Compton, there was no fashion, hip hop fashion, none of that. So we're only talking about the musical, the beats, the rhymes, the scratches. So hip hop on a whole couldn't have been destroyed. Or the beginnings of it couldn't have been destroyed by just one element, which is the music. So he's emphatically wrong for that. But 1986, hip-hop albums from the West Coast, okay? From the West Coast. We had MC Hammer, right? MC Hammer was out before. Y'all seen all the pants and the Jansen and the production. He had an album out August 1986. Feel my, okay? LA Dream Team. Too Short. Raw and Uncut. Egyptian Lover. And World Class Wrecking Crew. Dr. Dre in 86. Now on the East Coast, we had UTFO, Houdini, Steady B, The Beasties, Bambaataa, Just Ice, Salt and Pepper, Mo D, Schoolie D, and Stetsasonic. That's 86. And those is movements on the East Coast. Let us remember, West Coast was not getting any radio burn in 86, in 87, in 88. Maybe a little bit might have crept through if you was on underground radio and understood what you was looking for as a DJ and heard it and was making an attempt to expose us to what was going on out there. So 86, do you understand? That was what was coming from the West and the East. Crack was claiming lives. It was already a national epidemic in the big Detroit. Young Boys Incorporated. Bodies after bodies. The Chambers Brothers. Bodies in D.C. Rayful. And we know for an absolute fact in NYC. We had the Corleys, we had the Preem, we had Cat and them. Up in the Bronx, Boy George, Chicky. Brooklyn, we had Unique, Messiah out of Coney Island. And I'm talking about Unique East New York. But we also had Big Unique from Marcy. Okay? Baby Sam. There was already bodies after bodies, people dropping, going to jail. 85, 86, 87, 88. Hip-hop had nothing to do with that. Because hip-hop, you was dancing and having fun or being educated. We ran down the list. Okay? Now we can get into how heavy the crack epidemic was. But that's not this bill. We're dealing with what he said. Now, by the time, okay, 1988 hit was Straight Outta Compton, and we gotta keep it a buck. Crack was on the scene as early as the 70s in Miami and in LA. All right? So now, 88, August. Let's see what also was out. West Coast, or that region outside of that, right? We had Ghetto Boys first, and that was in February. Nope, let me take it back. Too Short was in January of 88. Ghetto Boys in February. JJ Fad, June. All of that was prior to NWA, which was August, and then Hammer and Easy for Easy Does It in September. So now that was 88. We already know, we already told you, death and destruction was all through urban communities because of crack. Okay? So his claim is getting ready to be real funky here, because what else on the East Coast was dropped in 88? And the East Coast dominated radio and the airwaves when hip-hop was being presented. East Coast, 88. Bismarcky in February of 88. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Run DMC in May. Dougie Fresh in May. Boogie Down Productions in May. These are movements that kids were a part of, emulating everything. 88. Stetsa. NPE in June. Eric B. and Rakim in July. Salt and Pepper, Ultramagnetic, the Jungle Brothers in November. We know what kind of movement that started. And Slick Rick, who just crushed it from the end of 88 to damn near 90. We know the movement of the native tongues. Heavy influence in the streets, in colleges, in high schools, the native tongues. So look at what we're doing here. And that was in spite of the crack epidemic. That was pulling people away. Pulling people away from being hustlers, from being in the streets on a large scale. Now, some of us was just knuckleheads and just stayed in it because we were already accustomed to it. And me, myself, in the service, who was hip-hop to the fullest, which many of them had never saw, my fellow soldiers hit me too easy in NWA. Which was ironic for me because I had already heard a face. Already before I went in the Army. I left in the first month. It was January or February 88 when I was in basic. I was already a Scarface fan. So I was hip hop. So the majority of 88, 89, 90, I was making an attempt to absorb all of it because I was overseas. And they were banging overseas. So now, I don't know what destruction he was speaking about and using NWA for it. Because they were not getting that burn like that. Now out west, and then he was very specific about the letter. So by the time the letter from the FBI showed up, for us, for where his hometown was, shit didn't matter. People were still calling it whack. They was calling it trash. It was not giving it no burn. It was not played in Union Square. It was not played in Club Latin Quarters. It wasn't getting no burn on the radio. We were still struggling to get radio spins. Now, these movements that began, native tongues and all that, the nation of gods and earths and everything. Let's move on. Because if that was a destruction, I mean, it should have had a big influence and damn near dominated what was going on in the streets. But it didn't. Because in 1989, from the West Coast, we got Tone Loc, Oaktown 357, the DOC, Ice-T, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Divine Styler. Because after Cube left NWA, they had to figure it out. They put out Appetite for Destruction and all that and dissing him. Where was the influence? Because over here on the East Coast, okay, in 89, Fat Boy still came out. Kwame was out. Polka dots and shit, and all the bird-ass dudes wearing polka dots, okay? They wasn't going to jail wearing polka dots. I ain't see nobody in polka dots back out that heat. Nah. De La Soul, an extension, right? Or an add-on to the native tongues, because the Jungle Brothers was still heavy and hot, okay? So we got the Jungle Brothers, now we got De La Soul, G-Rap and Polo with Road to the Riches. Nice and smooth, bouncy hip-hop, straight from uptown, Gangstar with No More Mr. Nice Guy, LL had Panther out, Heavy D drop, BDP, the first blueprint, EPMD, unfinished business, Big Daddy Kane. Okay? Big Daddy thing. MC Light. Another JB album, Jungle Brothers. King's Son for the Guards. Chubb Rock for the colleges, the frats, the fun, the intelligence. And Redhead Kingpin for the pop aesthetic, the New Jack Swing aesthetic. All that, all the people that was influenced and held and ran with that aspect of hip hop, none of that was destroyed. That was represented everywhere in New York City, in Jersey, in Connecticut, all the way up through New England, down to DC. Where was there a destruction? Nah, homie. No, we not jacking that. Because in order for that statement to reign true and hold true, none of these other acts and movements should have had that much of an effect, should have had that much influence. We talking about legendary work. And let's not forget Special Ed, Eddie Archer. Your movement wasn't something that we shrugged our shoulders at. The Youngest in Charge was everywhere, on every hip-hop magazine, on all of the video stations. The Youngest in Charge, Special Ed. Are we serious right now? You mean to tell me that they was getting more burn than you? Negative. Nah, man. We're not doing that. Now, you can challenge me on it. You can have a discussion on it. We can build on it. Any given time. Classroom assistants, remind them what they need to be doing right now. Not getting it like there's nowhere else. Let's get it moving. You dig? Because before I go into the 90s, I got to make sure that y'all hearing me. I got to make sure that y'all still with me. You dig? Let's go on with my classroom assistants. Let's get that in there. Get that info in there. Because I know that they want to hear and see the rest of this class. Okay? So he said that was the beginning of the destruction. He said that was the beginning of the destruction. And then I'm trying to figure out, we ain't even get to the clothing lines yet. We didn't even get to the clothing lines yet. We didn't get to the bag yet. If it was the beginnings of the destruction, we would have never been able to elevate. There would have never been hip-hop movies and TV shows. You ain't never seen no NWA TV show. You seen them on TV? You seen that? We had a whole sitcom of NWA and Easy busting gats and running through and getting jacked up by 12? No. What did we see? We seen the Fresh Prince. We seen Latifah on shows. So the elevation of the culture was there in spite of it. We grew, we flourished. Y'all understand? We flourished. So now, let's continue with the impact, okay? Because, man, I could do this all day. All day. All day. Now, the East Coast still was acting very biased. I didn't even mention the fact that Luke was getting off during this time. Okay? And a whole lot of other acts from other regions. I'm not getting there. I'm going to stay with where we at, the Mecca, the birthplace, and what he said NWA did. Now, excuse me, let me clear my throat. Because in 1990, from out west, we had Digital Underground, another MC Hammer, and Above the Law. What did we have over here in the East Coast? 1990. Eddie Archer, Special Ed album. G-Rap and Polo Wanted Dead or Alive. Lord Finesse, 3 Times Dope out of Philly. Tribe Called Quest. Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. Okay? X-Clan, K-Solo, Poor Righteous Teachers, Eric B. and Rakim, Let the Rhythm Hit 'em. Tragedy Gaddafi, BDP, Edutainment, Ghetto Music. LL, Mama Said, Brand Nubian, and Chubb Rock. At what point did that gangsterism, gangster rap, start? Do you hear? Do you see the movements individually and collectively? Tribe, X-Clan, Poor Righteous Teachers, Tragedy, Gaddafi, Lord Finesse. Do you understand the hold and the grip that East Coast hip-hop had on what was being pushed and influenced throughout the nation? Gangster rap, the NWA shit was tiny. He needs to switch his timeline. His timeline is off. Way off. Way off. What we are looking at now through drill, which evolved from trill, which evolved from crunk, which evolved from all of that happened after 9/11. That's what we're dealing with now. So we have to ask ourselves, where was the parents of hip-hop? Where were the parents of hip-hop? Where were they? And I'm not talking about the ones who didn't survive the crack epidemic, who ended up in jails and in rehabs. No, I'm talking about all of them who were in these movements, these native tongues, these nations of gods and earths, these conscious movements, the backpack hip-hop, all of that. Those parents dropped the ball. They allowed the industry and the structure and the individuals who should be held way more accountable than NWA. We talking about those who became executives, who played a role in filming of the videos and writing the treatments of getting budgets to push that bullshit. Don't start with them. Because their influence wasn't that heavy. Just wasn't. The timeline is off. The group that he picked is off. How many people, young people, stood in protest with Calvin Butts, with C. Dolores Tucker? You had a whole college movement. People who were influenced by a different world. By Greek Fest. By Freakniks. All them people out there, they wasn't running around with guns. They was running around trying to be in step shows and chasing butts and running around. That college movement was heavy. Heavy. And I'm telling you from somebody who threw their hammer, who threw their gat, who was an avid fan and listener of NWA, of Scarface, of Spice One, and Pop. Because they was talking to me about the things I was already doing before they even came out. So if you're not old enough, if you weren't in the streets, if you wasn't going through the system at that time, you don't know. You don't know. And you need to have a better discussion. So I don't know if he did it purposely for Cap, because he was sitting with old Chuckle Puss Nori, or if he really believed that. Some could even blame Special Ed for the destruction, the beginning destructions of hip-hop, because that lawsuit that he put in against a major label to get his publishing. After that, they put the clamps down on a lot of artists and how they were able to maneuver. Between that and Bliz getting sued for the sampling, it made them Euros say, you know what? If you want to be part of this, give up them grippers. Or come and touch theirs, you know. So maybe Special Ed, maybe you were the beginning of the destruction of hip-hop. You open that can of worms. You the one who sued them and won. So let's have a deeper discussion. Let's not do this for what we, want to create. These viral moments, these viral discussions without the substance and the meat. And definitely without a clear plan of action to counter what's going on in the streets. Now, if he gave that plan, again, I missed it. Because I can't watch all that chuckling and giggling and kikiing and all that. I ain't with that shit. Okay? Yeah, Mark. It was a time when you could get on in the industry because the streets pushed you, because you were the nicest MC. You were the nicest DJ. You could create beats and was the nicest producer. And they couldn't deny you, so the Euros had to let you in order to make money off you. Once they got into a specific position, okay, they said, nah, we got to get them grippers. They too smart. Their influence is too deep. They got clothes. They doing videos. They doing movies. They're in TV. We got to contain this. So Special Ed, you could come see me. We got the same peeps. We can have a true discussion wherever you want. I'm not in the machine. My YouTube is very small. I don't get nothing off of it at all. So you know it's not for profit. It's strictly for truth. Okay? I don't get it. My people be real tight. They be holding on to their little nickels. You understand? So you could come through. You can meet me on Instagram. Damn it, you can meet me in the street. Damn it, you can meet me in the schools. Okay? You can meet me in the schools. I am hip-hop. I am about this work. But that statement was out of line and off center. And as you notice, nobody from NWA responded. Nobody. Daz and Corrupt can't speak on that. Get your ass out of here. Dog pound. Y'all was some of the catalysts to the bullshit. King Crooked, I respect what he said, but he's a youngin' too. These individuals are too young when they're having these hip-hop discussions because they missed a lot of that energy. And a lot of them, if they wasn't too young, they was too pussy to be out in the street or in the clubs. They listened from their bedrooms. They watched out of the windows. And don't have me naming names and pointing people out. I know the ones who used to wait until we came back from Union Square and Latin Quarters and stuff, and we would come out the next morning and talk about the adventures that we had. Because when we was coming back, we was coming on a train, choking Old Phase out, meeting up in White Castle and eating burgers at 3, 4 in the morning, pockets on swole, or going to the scales in Brownsville, on Rockaway in Livonia, because that shit didn't close with a handful of broken jewelry. And we was out there in it. So if you ain't that age, you're talking from a different perspective. Okay? It wasn't out in it. Y'all allowing dudes to come on social media in front. That's why I don't get shared. That's why people don't ring my phone or DM me or do none of that to get me on their platforms to speak truth. Because I might have a recollection. Did I choke you out before, homie? I don't know. Did I tap your jaw one time on a train somewhere? At your school? And I ain't talking about just the rappers. I'm talking about them executives and stuff. You might have tapped you in the temple with my pistol. I might have tapped you upside that little cranium with the pistol. So you make sure that what I say is not challenged. I know how this shit go. You know why the numbers don't flourish. I know why. I know why that them resources don't come. I know why that funding don't come. Truth. Unadulterated truth. Okay? Now, y'all can clip that, y'all can share that. It's time for Fat Joey. Fatty. McPatty. Chatty Joey. Who keep stunting. Keep capping. straight off of giving Billy Jeff some sneakers. Do we understand what we saw? Do we not understand who Billy Jeff is? Do we not understand who Hillary is? Do we not understand the connections to what people believe is Pizzagate, to what people believe transpired with old Epi up on the island? Fatty, Chatty Joe is going to give that man a pair of fresh ones? Oh, man. Oh, man. These individuals need to stay off social media. Fatty. I don't know how recent it is. Again, I only listen because the class sends it to me. Fatty is talking about, and let me get this straight, I never told that story before. Yeah, Tupac called me from jail. Whoa. Tupac called him from jail. And say, yo, listen. I heard what you said on the radio. And I'm having problems from the Puerto Rican brothers. I don't want no problems with you, Joe. Me and you all right. Can you tell them to chill? What? And people letting it fly. I don't know why. People allowing it to fly. People are still more concerned about the quad assault, the quad shooting. And that's a whole different build. That's a whole different class. Because when I tell you, look it up. You got my government name. Google it and see where my case was caught. See what happened. It's going to tell you. Shooting in Quad Studios. Okay? So people can keep playing. C's and this one and that one. They can keep this incident on social media if they want to. And I'm going to start poking holes in it. Because they're leaving out a lot of things which could connect them. And could unravel the lies. Again, we want to go through it. A lot of them don't mention the jury that was took. They don't mention who the jury belonged to. They don't mention the hit. They don't mention that it was a Rolex set. That it was a Rolex chain, watch, ring set. They don't understand who and how many people heard of the hit to get that jury. It wasn't his. Don't have me open up a can of worms on y'all ass because y'all not that official. You wasn't in the streets like that. Okay? But Fatty Chatty, Joseph even, is saying that Pop called him from jail because he said he was on the radio and was asked a question about him, and he said, yo, Pac and them better not never run up on me, okay? Do you understand that? I'm like this, oh, okay. He said that on the radio. But now, again, in this technological age, I'm trying to figure out why nobody has that audio of him saying that on the radio. We need that audio, Joe. We need the audio of that question, okay? And then we can say, okay, he's telling the truth about that. We can say that. Okay, he did say that on the radio. That's easy. Cousin Reg, salute. What's going on? Cousin Reg's tapped in. So I know I'm moving. I know we getting it. Come on now. Start getting this war machine ready. Fund the war effort. Stop playing. Y'all sitting here, I'm telling you, 169 is up in the spotty spot. I'm ready to move right now and cut it in the middle of class. 50 minutes in. You're not going to do this to the kid. Get it moving. I'm not seeing it and y'all not hearing it. Let's rock and roll. Fund the war effort. Let's go. Again, this is what was said. Okay? He said that. And he said, because of that, Puerto Ricans in there, oh, they got beef with Pac. Let's step to him because of Joey. Really? Really? Y'all don't, let's go through the timeline because a lot of people don't understand. Pac was only in there 9 months. 9 months. 9 months. He caught the case November 9/3. He got shot November 9/4. That was the quad shooting. Okay? He blew trial, got locked up. Okay? He was sentenced February 8th, 1995. He got a 95A number. An A number means that he went through reception at downstate. Either complex 1, complex 2, or complex 3. I was at downstate 2 years before the appeal came back and went for another year. Worked there. Okay? So in that complex, knowing who he was and coming through, I know he was in one complex. Because that was where they probably had him going through there to keep him away from General Pop. Okay? He had a 1.5 to 4.5. He really, in all reality, wouldn't have went through downstate. He would have went through Ulster County. You understand? He would have went through Ulster County had it not been for his name and them making sure that they protected him while he was going through. So they sent him through downstate because it's a max, because it's all cells. And then he goes to Dannemora, Clinton Correctional Facility. Okay? Max. Now, that's where it gets shaky. Because I don't recall because I'm going through it. Remember, I got knocked. So I don't know if he was in PC. I don't know if he was in Clinton Annex or the main. I believe it's the main. I'm telling you for a fact that he was not going to have those type of issues from inmates, especially right? Non-melanated inmates. His energy and his aura, was of such that he would have shook the ground of any correctional facility that he was in at that time. Wasn't no East-West drama at that time. That didn't come out till those interviews. You gotta understand that for absolute fact. So for this dude to say that those individuals gonna form on him in Clinton Max, nine months in, he was having so much drama from the police. He was going on visits consistently. You understand what we're saying here? See, you can't imagine that if you've never been in a maximum security correctional facility in New York State. If you don't understand the dynamics behind it. That out of all of the numbers, well, he said he called Greg Nice. And through a three-way, he patched him in. Okay, that's possible. Because I know in that number list, he said he might have hit Greg Nice. Right? Matter of fact, they didn't start the approved list, I believe, until 97 when they started shortening the list because of the influx of the Bloods coming through, running wild, tearing everything up. So they started shortening how many people you could call. You had a specific list of numbers, and if a number wasn't on that list, you couldn't dial out from that phone. Prior to that, you could call just about anybody. So I'm trying to picture Tupac after the trial, after the statements in that trial, blowing trial, crying during sentencing, going up top, having his family and everybody around him, his lawyers and all that, him remembering Greg Nice's number to that degree that he's going to worry about what Fat Joe said on the radio, New York City radio back then. You wasn't getting that in Clinton, Dannemora. We barely got New York radio in downstate, in Fishkill, in the close hubs. You wasn't hearing no Hot 97. It wasn't one. You wasn't hearing that. All the way in 95 in Dannemora. When you that far up, you get Connecticut stations. You might get, what's the college up there? Plattsburgh. So where did he hear that on the radio? He said Pac heard it and called. Not somebody told him that Fat Joe said something. He said Pac heard it from the radio. You're capping. You got Canadian radio up there. Stop listening to Chatty Fatty. He capping. You don't get that. The closest we got. Otisville, Mid-Orange, those, you know, you got Medium, even Shawangum. You might have got the Woodsman radio show, or one of them New Pulse stations and all that. We wasn't getting New York radio back then. Y'all gotta tell these dudes to stop camping, to stop bullshitting, and people run with it. It goes through the whole algorithm, the whole system. And people believe this bullshit. Come on, man. Come on. You gotta stop. Because these dudes be lying. They lie about that. Anything that got to do with Pac, everybody was there. Everybody been there. And everybody's story don't match. It's a lot of bullshit. A lot of it. Who knew he was coming through? Who didn't know he was coming through? We didn't have cell phones back then to that degree. Any information was spoken about. So if Andre Harrell knew Pac was coming there, Puff knew Pac was coming there. I understand that. I don't care if he started Bad Boy, he was gone. They was connected. Puff was still managing groups on Uptown, and they all came from Mount Vernon together. So if Andre and somebody else who's on here talking knew that Pac was coming, Puff and Big knew as well. They might not have told C's derelict little ass, but damn sure them dudes knew. Puff had groups that was coming on New York undercover. You You think if Andre was, oh, Pop, yo, Pop coming through. They was in the building. They knew. That's how dude spoke. Wasn't no heavy cell phones like that. Wasn't no smartphones. We spoke to each other. So dudes knew he was coming through. Don't mess with me. I will never allow people or an institution to lie to my folks. It was a very different energy pre 9/11. It was a very, very different existence. We were moving very different in the streets, in the industry, in the jails. Y'all have to stop letting people lie to y'all. Check them. Ask them questions that they have no answers for. And watch them shake and stutter. So again, don't believe in me. Believe in my belief in you. Guard your mind. Guard your mind. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense. Fund this war effort. Because it's a war, man. I'm telling you. The lies and the propaganda, that is the beginning stages of war. Don't allow this work. Don't allow this class work to go in vain, and don't let it disappear. Because once it's gone, it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. And then the sucker shit continues. You dig? Peace and power. I appreciate everybody from getting these jewels. Run it. Push it. Keep it moving.